Welcome to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Bradley Hartmann. We are here live at Lowe's Live. Kind of a fantastic little angle here where you can see AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play.
Absolutely.
See the Ranger Stadium where whatever insurance company or whoever, who's it, Globe Life Field?
Yes, Globe Life.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. So we're in a great setting. You've been running on fumes for the last couple of days. We just had General Funk give the keynote.
Yes.
Now we're just pulling you off from your duties and we're doing a podcast here.
Keeping me from the expo hall.
I know, it's
floor,
right here.
Bradley.
Just a minute. So normally I always do kind of a rambling bio where I like brag about the person, but you're here, so we're going to do this live. So we're going to do this as a trivia.
Oh my goodness.
Are you ready? All right.
Ready as I'm ever going to be.
Zapata.
Yes, sir.
Do you know you attended the University of Texas at Austin? Do you remember
Hook 'em
what
horns.
you majored in?
Journalism.
That's correct. Okay. You did. You did an internship with whom and why?
Well, I interned for a statewide political campaign,
Yes.
and it was to get out of serving coffee.
All right, I have to ask a follow-up. This is supposed to be brief up here, but serving coffee?
Yes.
Like as a barista? Or
No, not
Oh.
that glamorous.
Okay.
The UT College of Communications would make you do an internship at a local TV station if you were part of their broadcast journalism.
There we go.
And I was like, I don't want to serve coffee. I want to do
All right.
something.
So was this your first experience in the political arena? Or is it something that you had been thinking about prior to that?
It was my real world first experience.
Okay.
And politics was something that we talked about at our family table at dinner,
okay.
as in more of the news of the day, not with the headline of the politics of the day.
Sure.
So it was the first time I stepped out of that setting into the world of politics.
Okay. All right. You then worked for a global communications firm. Do you know the name of that organization?
I do. Edelman Public Relations.
All right. What did you learn there? What was the number one takeaway from your time there?
That because they were a family-owned business, they were really excellent at what they did.
I didn't know there. I just
They
assume when I
are.
hear global communications firm, I do not think
No,
family-run business.
Founded by Dan Edelman. I believe they're still privately held, based out of Chicago.
That's wild. Okay. All right. And then you worked for the House of Representatives in what state?
I got to think about this one, but I think it may have been the great state of Texas.
This is the greatest country in the world, Texas. That's right. You spent 8 years there.
At least.
So we're going to do a kind of a rolling bio.
Got it.
I won't save the punchline till later. So you're the executive director of LAT, the Lumbermen's Association of Texas. A question I've got as I look at the depth of experience you have in politics. You seem to operate day to day with a sense of enthusiasm and optimism, which to me is a really hard juxtaposition with just what politics has become. How are you able to do that?
I think it's because of how our members have embraced the work that LAT does, and we are the place where industry challenges and problems are solved. And we do that at LAT by being involved in politics and policy.
Yeah.
And that's a tool for us. So when you're focused on solving a problem for a business, and that's a tool that you got to use, you're going to use it and keep going.
Do you have any advice for folks, whether they are at a dealership or a distributor or manufacturer, and they start looking at the tool that politics can be,
Sure.
and they just see a general lack of interest? You called on Kason Schroed, who leads Cassidy Jones. You got him down to Austin.
Yes.
So stepping away from running our business to really go at the highest level there, what have you seen that works, or maybe the alternative or what definitely doesn't work is you try to get leadership to invest the time to make an impact at that level?
Great question. It's an investment. It's not something that you can have one conversation with someone about
Right. Yeah.
and get them to change their mind about engaging in this work. And Bradley, I get it. If I hadn't been immersed in this work since 1998,
Right.
I wouldn't be doing it either. I can see why people are turned off by it. I understand why people like us aren't interested in running for office, but that's exactly why it's important for LAT members to engage in the work, and really our industry across the country to engage this work, whether it's in your own state or nationally in Washington, D.C. If you don't have real people telling people that have influence and power, how to change things. Not that different than if you're, the guy driving your forklift, or there's a problem with the tires and he doesn't tell the lead in the yard. Is it going to change? It's not. So I don't know. It's hard for me to understand sometimes why we say, oh, we don't like those people, we don't want to talk to them, but they hold the keys to the kingdom in some way. So we got to figure out of what's our comfort level with talking to them. Let's talk to them about what we know about, which is our business.
Yep.
We're the experts in that, and the political stuff, the stuff we see on TV, the stuff you see when you're scrolling on Instagram, that's noise.
Yeah.
And you got to turn it off. And
well, I've always just trying to think about personally and professionally. I think there's a level of power that you have to think about from a cognitive standpoint. Like, all right, who really has the power in this situation?
Sure.
And I also think there's somewhere you just intuit. They have more power over here, but I think to make change, you got to understand where the centers of power are and how the machine works, how the game is played.
Absolutely.
And if you're playing for the Cowboys, you're playing for the Rangers, and you step on whatever, the gridiron or the diamond, and you don't understand the rules, you can't be that upset if you are finding that you are on the losing side of that, right? So I say that. I also very much have struggled to find time to really invest or find the interest. However, I'm convincible.
We'll work on you.
You can. But I just think my guess is once you kind of get your foot in the door, or I heard somebody say the other day, once the camel gets its nose in the tent, I'm sure you're like, okay, all right, no, I can see a path. I understand the rules, and I want to invest more of your time.
But I'm gonna add something to this.
Please.
Because I think there's also different ways to engage in this work that's impactful, right? And you have to listen and have conversations with whether it's retailers, associate members, distributors, manufacturers. You got to listen to them. What are their pain points? How do they want to engage? Maybe they don't want to come to Austin and tell the story of the Texas building materials industry, and that's okay. If I got some members that are willing to do that, but maybe they're willing to write a check, Bradley, to our PAC and have influence politically. Or maybe they're willing to have a legislator come to their yard or come to their manufacturing facility and see what we're doing. It really starts with listening, learning who our members are, and then finding a place where they can impact the work that we're doing. And it's okay if it's not the right fit for them. There's plenty of things to be done that we can get them engaged in.
Well, as you are listing off kind of the folks that are here, it's essentially our entire supply chain in one way or another is involved here in Texas.
Yes.
Are there certain aspects of what we're dealing with? Here we are entering the fourth quarter of 2024, looking at 2025, that you feel need more attention, or maybe you're looking at this and saying, there's some conversation about this, there's some energy and attention towards it, but not nearly enough given the potential either A, opportunity, or B, risk that lies in the future?
I think we heard today that it's a unique time on the issue of housing affordability. And there's a lot of attention for the first time. I mean, you're hearing it on the national stage, you're hearing it at the state level, you're hearing it, we had builders here this morning speaking to our members. It's a really unique time to strike on that issue because everyday people are talking about it. Everybody knows that if you want to be a first-time home buyer, it's really difficult, and it's not just interest rates. That affordability question is hot right now, and we should strike while the iron's hot. We're not going to solve it, but there is a unique opportunity right now to do something to make it better, and I think we should take it.
Do you have any suggestions about what that should be, or?
No? We're going to lean really heavily on that on our partners, the Texas Association of Builders.
Okay.
We work really closely with them on these issues. So to me, it really on this one's going to be a matter of our members supporting their customers. It's a great opportunity to tell them, look, we know you're leading the charge on this issue. You've got the data. You're our front line on this. And as your supplier, I want to support you on that. And we're doing that at the state level, LAT. Our members are doing it on the ground, their local builders association. And I think they're going to have very specific issues that they want to drive, probably on regulatory matters to make it easier for them to build smaller homes, maybe homes closer to city centers, maybe taking advantage of some of those larger backyards we got here in Texas, and really even holding the line on new regulations. There's some concerns with a lot of the new members that are coming in this year that we could harm housing affordability instead of improving it, and holding the line on some of those things. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our members to deepen their relationship with our customers and tell them we've got your back on this and we can do it together.
Well, I love that because in an environment here where mortgage rates continue to be high, we're hearing more and more folks coming after the obviously they were terrible in one aspect of overall humanity with the pandemic.
Sure.
However, from a profitability standpoint, those were some amazing times, and now we're kind of the hangovers in. We see a lot of dealers are back to competing on price, and their margins are tight, and they're losing business, they're losing market share. I think this is a great opportunity, though, to find the leaders of the Texas Association of Builders, or those builders, the people who are fighting that fight. They're not the superintendents, they're not the guys walking the jobs. Those are the people with the names literally on the homes. And I think that's a way to say, hey, how can we support you on that? I think it's a unique way to build or strengthen a relationship that puts the sale of the next framing package, out of the question. That's not what we're here to talk about. It's such a much bigger issue. So I love that idea. Is there anything else that might come as a number two, or something else you're thinking about after housing affordability that's just something that's kind of top of mind that you really want to continue to lean into?
Well, we have two really big priorities that we know we're already going to be full force on next session. We started working on trucking litigation reforms in 2020 in preparation for the 2021 legislative session. When I was visiting our members throughout Texas at that time, that fear of being sued, and specifically being sued because one of your trucks had been in an accident, was top of mind for every member that I spoke with. We were able to make a difference in that work in 2021. It was a step in the right direction and really started that conversation of how you can add fairness in the courthouse. First, if someone's injured, making sure that person is taken care of, but also making sure that the courts are fair for both sides. And frankly, there's been a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys, taking advantage and abusing the system here in Texas. So we've started that work in 2021. There's a lot more work to be done there. That's another area where different industries are coming together to do that. It doesn't just impact us as LAT. I think we and Chairman Leach, who led the fight on that in the Texas House, was here with us today. And he saw firsthand the value of our members coming to Austin and telling, because there are, unfortunately, Bradley, we have real stories from our members on some very large settlement figures that if we make some adjustments, hopefully we don't see those anymore, and we can see insurance rates coming down, which is helpful to the entire supply chain. So that's a big priority for us. Fairness in the judicial system. And then the issue of organized retail theft.
I heard, just sitting in the panel discussion, I heard some of that. Quite frankly, that's not something, as I'm going around the country, I don't hear a whole lot of. I know it exists, but what?
We get calls every day, it's a very, there's a lot of different ways that we're seeing on the ground. I could mention Mireya, Texas. One of my yards got broken into one night. They came in, those people clearly had a mission of what they wanted from that store. They only took that, and then they broke into 5 other LAT members in that same community. So it's very organized criminal activity. They know what they're coming in for. So that's one way that we're seeing it. We're also seeing a very orchestrated, falsifying orders, impersonating dealer yards, calling distributors, requesting orders at will call, truckloads of material being stolen. Actually, we had one of our members walk out of one of the sessions today because they were at the cusp of figuring out who had stolen some material from them. So it's literally every day we hear from a member who's experienced this kind of theft. It's statewide. The numbers are getting larger and larger. And I think for a lot of our members, it's also a safety issue. Those folks that are coming into yards to deliveries early in the morning, you don't want them coming across a situation like that on the property, on the premises. So it's something we're paying a lot of attention to. We're working with the Department of Public Safety on that and really advocating for some change, and probably change in increasing the criminal penalties and empowering DAs to go after that type of criminal activity.
Well, on one side of the coin, it's with e-commerce and mobile payments and it being a little bit harder to sell as much at the margins we're looking for. We see these large orders come across. We're trying to remove friction from it. I think the other side of that coin is, there's going to be more fraud. There are people that recognize that and are going to take advantage of it. So how do you kind of strike that balance?
No, I'm glad you brought up the credit cards because, yes, we're trying to modernize and use those tools, but they come with their own set of challenges, and they're definitely being abused in that realm of fraud. Absolutely.
Okay, I want to pivot a little bit more to you personally. you've got 2 kiddos at home. You're running LAT. You're setting up events. I feel like you are up in DFW often. Obviously, you're all over the state. Talk to me just a little bit about time management. What tools do you use? How do you do it? Because you look, on the surface, you look relatively sane right now. You seem put together. You're keeping it together. I don't know how you do it. What are some of the tools? What have you learned about managing your time and your stress?
This is something I've thought about a lot. I'm taking a deep breath because I'm a work in progress when it comes to this.
Aren't we all?
I think I'm going to start with the stress first.
Okay.
And I probably should credit my children about this. And also, I've had some LAT members mentor me in this.
Okay.
That I think I know myself well enough right now and how I work, which is part of the journey, right? Understanding how you work as an individual.
Yeah.
That I have finally realized that I create my own set of expectations that create that stress. And I'm really trying to really practice what I preach to my kids. Just like I tell my kids, as long as I know you did your best, that's what matters. I tell them that every day, and I don't know why I didn't follow it for my own work.
I definitely don't follow. I say it to my kids all the time, like
I say
effort,
it all the
attitude
time.
and effort.
Yeah, and I'm like, I have not done
That
that
doesn't
for
apply to me.
myself, and I have a hard time letting go of. I had this vision, that we were going to end that session, Bradley, right at 1, and I was going to be seated here by 1:15, and that may be lingering in my mind. I am doing a lot better in letting go of those things, and it has lowered my stress level significantly. It really has. It's a small change, but it's made a big difference,
Right. Well, I always tell my kids, listen, it's attitude and effort. If you give your
It
good effort,
is.
right, you prepare and you plan, you good effort, and you have a good attitude, that's all I'm looking for. I would never tell this to my team based on the results that we've had. Listen, my effort was there, my attitude was there, and I think we're good with it. That has never occurred to me until right now. So I'll need to think about that some more. Time management, yes.
I'm managing LAT's time, my children's time. For me, I got to have multiple systems. I can't have just one system of managing my time. I can no longer I used to love just doing paper and pencil. That ain't going to work in today's world, Bradley, right? So I got to have my electronic calendar.
All right.
I got to have my paper calendar. I got to be very thoughtful about spending Sunday, not just meal planning on Sundays, but looking at my week, my children's week, and really setting aside that time on Sunday to look through all the schedules, get organized. If I don't do that on Sundays, nothing's going to work. And when you've got, the stage of life that I'm in, that you're in, the train, if one thing kind of gets off the track, it's hard to recover. So again, have learned that I got to have multiple ways to keep myself on track, not just relying on one, and setting aside that time to get ready for the week. If I don't do it, I don't recover. Then I'm just in the grind trying to keep up from that Sunday onward.
I'm nodding my head like I know what's happening. The reality is I delegate that out. Melissa has to handle all that stuff. Like the wheels come off, I'm oblivious to it because she kind of takes it on. I know the moms handle, I would say 10% of that is mine, but I'm not even sure if that's right. It could be, it's possible it's 5. If I can just ask, are you using any digital tools to help plan, coordinate beyond, Office 365, or are you using any other sort of project management tools?
No, just Google, Outlook.
All right.
And I guess I should say I also have to share those tools with my 13-year-old. So I've got her on that same tool as well. I've got, my 70-something-year-old mother, my father. I've got my audience of tools is very diverse. So we're trying to use tools that can fit a diversity of audiences, but that are modern enough that we're not relying on a telephone call from someone to know where everybody needs to be and where and what needs to be turned in. And it's true.
Understood. Melissa actually slept in this morning. I say slept in till like 6. So I got the call from my father-in-law, Fernando. He had a procedure of some sort, had no idea where it was. So he called my 17-year-old first, and then called me. Yeah. We worked it out.
The calls take a lot of time,
They do.
They do. They take a lot of time.
Yes.
But
just about your own personal development as a leader, leading LAT, and I would say beyond LAT, because I know a lot of folks who aren't in the LAT but know you and have been impressed by you and have been influenced by you. What What do you do, or how do you plan, or where do you invest your time for your own personal development to continue your own growth?
Because time is such a precious resource, and I'm very close to my family. So if I'm going to time outside of LAT, if I'm going to take it away from my family, it's going to have to be something that fills my soul and that I feel improves me as a human on this planet. And I've chosen a couple of nonprofits that I'm involved with. And for me, it's been important, not just that the mission speaks to me, but really have looked for nonprofits where I am impressed by the way that they do their business and that I'm impressed by their leaders and that I can learn from those leaders. And they really are who I go to work on things like stress and time management. And I'm on the board of Ballet Austin. They've had a longtime executive director, Cookie, who I've admired before I ever joined that board. She's really been someone I've looked up to as a strong woman leader for decades. And she's a powerhouse in her industry, in the ballet world. Cookie Ruiz is a powerhouse, and I've learned a lot from her. So it's that unique place where I get to enjoy something with my daughter. I like something we both really are passionate about, but for me, professionally, it's filled me and supported my professional growth and development. And I'm so glad you asked about this because LAT actually opened up an opportunity for me to get involved with an organization called Mobile Loaves and Fishes. They create community and housing for chronically unhoused Texans. And I got to know that organization because our members started raising funds to build some homes there. It was a natural tie-in with LAT to help that community. And as I got to know the leaders of that group, I, of course, was excited about their mission, loved the connectivity to what I do at LAT, but that's been a place where I've already learned a tremendous amount and see a lot of potential to continue to improve as a leader as well. So that's kind of where I need twofers in my life, Bradley, on the time management. I need things that I can get more than just one box checked.
Got to have that Venn diagram overlap just a little bit there.
Absolutely.
And you said it was a Mobile Loaves and Fishes.
Yes.
Okay, is that a national organization? I felt like I've heard about it up here in DFW.
They've gotten a lot of national attention because of how creative, unique their approach to homelessness is. They really are, or we, I guess now I'm part of the we. We become a little bit of an incubator, and other communities across the country are looking at what we're doing at Mobile Loaves and Fishes and seeing it as a potential solution for their housing challenges. So that's probably why you've heard of us. It's a wonderful organization.
Cool. All right. It's 1:59. You successfully answered all the questions about your bio. We talked about some high-level things. We talked about some very personal things. We've checked all the boxes. There's 1 minute left to spare. So, Mireya Zapata, thanks for all you do. Thanks for all your leadership. And thanks for making time for me on the Construction Leadership Podcast here, right in the middle of everything else you've got going on. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. You've added to our energy today, and we really appreciate it.
All right, so we're going to close out right here. Since we're here together, we're going to end it together. Last final trivia question. Do you know how we close out every single Construction Leadership Podcast with our own leadership mantra? Do you know it? And if you do, can you say it now?
I'm going to take a deep breath. You are owed nothing. Deliver value first.
Make it a great day. Thank you.